In this video, I want to speak about injury recovery and how we manage some of our minor injuries. Now, this is going to be very useful for busy parents, busy professionals, or people who struggle to get out to a physio. Physios are very useful. You should also take advice from them if required. These are things you can try at home before rushing off to a physio. And if you stick around to the end, I'm also going to show you some of the useful things we keep in the house that help us recover quicker from injuries. And some of them are actually very good techniques for fixing things like tendonitis. So let's have a look here. This is a guide I made about 2 years ago, and it is about the peace and love approach to soft tissue injury management. Now, this is really just coming from the science. It's the current protocols that a lot of physiotherapists and a lot of the health services and things use. It is very good, and you'll probably remember the previous version of this, which was very similar, which was rice. So soft tissue injuries can happen from various things. It can happen from sports, it can happen from things at work, it can be from sitting at a desk all day doing repetitive movements. You know, it doesn't always have to be something that's extreme. I've had injuries in the past from putting my son's seatbelt on because I reached over into an unusual position. Many people as well tolerate these little niggles, and I just want to show you here how we can implement some of these strategies to help us get back to full health and fitness. Number one is really understanding your injury. So you want to understand what it is and where the pain's coming from, and you can do that with some basic movements to feel and try and really narrow it down. Sometimes it's not so easy. Our bodies are very complex, but it's all just about understanding, trying to narrow down where it's coming from. Again, if you feel you're making things worse or it's too painful, then you need to go and see a doctor or a physiotherapist and possibly even get a scan done. So over time, these protocols have evolved. Like I said, this started off from RICE, which was rest, ice, compress, and elevate. And now we have other protocols like the Peace and Love protocol that I'm touching on now, and other things like PRICE and POLICE. So one of the things I did like about this new protocol is there's a strong emphasis on the body's own natural healing abilities, because our body is very powerful. And also trying to avoid things like anti-inflammatories. That was the main things that I really liked. We have fluids in our body, we have processes that help our body heal. It is better if we try and use them first rather than running off to use medication. Some of the medications will inhibit some of these processes and can result, from what the science is saying, in slowing down the injury healing process, and can result in slowing down or inhibiting the process to recover your injury naturally. First of all here, so we'll look at peace. This is immediate care post-injury. So you have protect. Initially unloading or restricting movement to prevent further damage. Obviously every body part's slightly different. I will focus on some real life examples just to make it easier. I dislocated my shoulder, for example. The first thing I wanted to do is I pulled over at the pharmacy, I got a sling and I kept it there just to support it. It was really sore, and that was until I got into the doctor to get it checked out. So that protected it. It might be that you've hurt your wrist and you put a strap around it just to keep it in that position until you can go and get help. Now, these aren't long-term things. These are just initially protecting it as soon as you've injured yourself. It may be that these continue on a bit longer. It might even be use of something like a compression sock or something that just restricts movement a little bit. The next one is elevate, raising the injured limb above heart level to reduce swelling. It might be that you have to sit with your arm like this, just so your limb is above heart level. It might be, if it's your leg, you maybe have to lie back a little bit and have your legs sitting up on some cushions or pillows. And that's just to try and minimize the swelling and all the blood flow going to that area. Remember though, this is immediately after injury, and again, might continue for a short time after. Avoid anti-inflammatory modalities. Limiting the use of NSAIDs and ice to avoid interfering with the healing process. As we touched on at the start, your body has a healing process. Once we jump straight to the first thing and taking medication, we have inhibited that. We are slowing it down and we are fighting against our own bodies. We don't want to do that. Previously, there was a lot of advice out there that would just encourage the use of painkillers and medication straight away. Now, they should be used mostly in cases where the pain is extreme, you can't tolerate it, and normally post-injury, like immediately post-injury, if a doctor or a health specialist recommends them. If you can tolerate the pain, in most cases, try and avoid them until you really need them. And then we have compression, applying compression to manage swelling effectively. So, if you look at the last three here, so we've had elevate, avoid anti-inflammatories, and compression. All of these are about reducing swelling, but the elevate and the compression is about doing it naturally and allowing your body to still go through the healing process. Simple thing for compression. Okay, this is the one I used for my knee when I had tendinitis. This, for example, if it was the right one for an arm, even doubled over, can naturally protect the joint. You can have it elevated, you've avoided your anti-inflammatories, and now you're compressing the area, which reduces swelling naturally and will also stop a lot of the inflammation in the area. The other thing it does for certain injuries, which is very useful, is it keeps it warm and supported. Now, this isn't a cast, it's not going to totally mobilise the limb, but I can feel straight away it does restrict it. So there's compression. There is other ways you can compress other areas. It might be that you have seen people using cold compresses against their head and different things. But this is just one variation. I want to give you some examples. And then educate being the last one in the peace section. This is about educating patients with information on active recovery and realistic expectations. Really, you want people to be going away and having a basic plan of what injury and recovery exercises they can have, and whether they need a physio or not. But these are things that you can all do in your own home as long as the injury is not too extreme. I know for me, being a busy parent and a busy professional, the last thing I want to do is go and sit in the doctor because I have a bit of a sore elbow or a sore wrist or something that's not extreme. So on to love, ongoing management post-injury. The first one, load, gradually reintroduce movement and mechanical stress to stimulate tissue repair. So you know what it's like, you've had this compression on, maybe tripled over, doubled over, whatever it is, you've been having this elevated, you're feeling a lot of pain, a lot of swelling, and the last thing you want to do, you maybe even had it sitting like this in some sort of sling, the last thing you really want to do is move it. But there comes a point when it feels comfortable enough to do this that you really want to be starting to move it again, get some movement in the area, get used to picking things up again. This isn't about exercising, this is just getting it moving back under some load, even if it's just lifting things like washing baskets in your house or pots off the, just get back to moving and get it back under load, and that is all this is. The mechanical stress and the load and movement will encourage tissue repair. When things are mobile, it does start to get quite uncomfortable, and once you start moving again, the injury and healing process will speed up. Optimism, cultivating a positive mindset to enhance recovery outcomes. I'm a strong believer in this. Sometimes, these things can seem a little bit strange. But if you're focused on being fully healthy, you're focused on fixing the thing, you're focused on having a healthy joint, it is much more likely you're going to buy into all of this, and it's much more likely you are going to recover. If you're sitting thinking about how sore it is, how negative it is, how much this is wrecking your life, all of these really negative things, rather than focusing on the positive actions you can take to fix it, it's very unlikely that you're going to heal. I'm also a strong believer in your mind is very powerful, and if you're focused on healing, your mind's doing that too. Next one, vascularisation. Promote blood flow to the injured area through cardiovascular activities. Self-explanatory. Get moving, get the blood flowing. You have all these things, synovial fluids, your blood flow, all these various things. You want to be getting that pumping around your body, and that is going to keep things, moving, it's going to encourage injury recovery, and all around you will feel better. You will feel more mobile, and it's a great thing to do. And last of all, exercise. Implementing exercise to restore mobility, strength, and balance. So I'm going to look at a couple of things here. Now, I've had a number of shoulder injuries. One of them was from sledging with my kids when I dislocated my shoulder. I had various other injuries back to maybe 20 years ago when my workout was heavily focused on heavy pushing, and it was not as balanced as it should have been. As I've learned over the years and adapted, I've targeted a lot more of my other muscles to ensure I have a balanced shoulder. And this mindset has changed right across my whole workout now to make sure I have a balance in all my movements. I also work with a lot of clients who get a lot of shoulder pain. I speak with a lot of people in the gym who get a lot of shoulder pain. And this isn't really just about shoulder pain. It is just about balance in general. So when it comes to the shoulders, they're normally quite an easy one. You quite often see somebody rounded forward like this, and they walk about, and they're normally slouched forward. Boxers is quite a good one for this, because a lot of their stuff is pushing, and they're building a lot of this and pulling things round. To me, it's visually very obvious that they need to work on their upper back and their rear delt, maybe even their mid delt exercises, and pull everything back up to being aligned. So when you are thinking about these exercises or preventing injuries, it's also very important to have a balanced, structured routine. If you don't understand what that is, you can always get a coach or a personal trainer to create one for you, and then you can continue working in a balanced way. If you have everything around every joint pulling even, your joints and your limbs are all centralized and the muscles are all pulling in the correct tightness of how they should be to keep your joints healthy, you are much less likely to have any injuries in the first place. Some real life examples of things I've experienced. I've been to physios myself, multiple different physios over the years. Some of them were really positive, some of them caused a lot of damage. What I see from a lot of people when they go to physios or doctors, they go in with shoulder injuries and they come out with a list of exercises to work on their front delt exercise. And I ask them about their workout program they've been following, and they maybe have 20 push exercises that almost all focus on the front delt, the chest, and the triceps. So it's highly likely they probably have a muscle imbalance that's leading to some form of injury or irritation. In this case, rather than having 20 exercises to work on the front delt, there should maybe be a lot more focus on working on the other areas that have been getting neglected over time and building them up to make a more balanced joint. Okay, so let's look at some useful tools you could have at home to help you recover. So first of all, we have resistant bands. Now, this band is quite high tension, so it's not the best one. I would advise getting the lowest resistant bands you can find and have them building up to a little bit stronger. The goal of doing this with the exercises, this isn't about building massive muscle or going to intense or extreme exercises. It is about getting back moving, restoring the balance, the mobility, the strength, getting the blood flow back in, building up with minor bits of load on it. Bands are a great tool. They can be used for so many things. They can also be anchored off other things to give you various different movements that you want to be completing with them. Compression, I have ones for my arms, ones for my legs, and I use this in conjunction with a heat pad for recovering with tendinitis a number of times in my elbow and my leg, and I'm going to show you how in a second. Following this protocol, I had already completed a lot of the things, but I put this on my knee. I had really bad tendinitis in my legs and I almost couldn't sit with my legs straight. They would want to, I couldn't sit with my legs bent. They would want to kick out all the time. So I got my big compression. I tripled over. I got my heat pack. Now this is a heat and a cool pack. They're very effective. I put it in the microwave for as hot as I could possibly get it without burning my skin. I put it in this sleeve here. On my knee, I put it just above the joint where the quad tendon was, and I fastened it round so it was sitting on the quad tendon. I had my leg elevated on a recliner, and I would sit and do my studying. I would do my social media, or occasionally I would put the TV on, and I would sit with this heat pack on as hot as it could be. I have the heat there, I have the compression for restricting the swelling and things like that, and it also kept the heat in as well. And within a few days I was able to recover from tendinitis very quickly. Now I did have this to the point where if I didn't have the compression sock on, it would be burning me. You need to be careful with that and make sure that you're not burning your skin. Make sure you're protecting yourself. But this is one thing for tendinitis I found to be one of the best things. After I would do that, I would go for a light load cycle on a stationary bike, although a non-stationary bike like a mountain bike was better, and I would just get it moving. I'd done it even for a 10-minute cycle. I'd done that a few times a week and the tendinitis was gone. I remember getting medical support at the time and they expected months. This was a very quick recovery using compression and using heat packs. The next one, as we've already discussed, heat packs. I have 2 of them. I can do a couple at a time. So if you're sitting there and you have, say, tendinitis in your knee and you have the heat pack on, the compression, and you maybe have a little niggle in your elbow, you could also put the second one on there. Or, like I said, they're also cool packs. You can have one in the freezer and you can have one in the microwave and you can swap between them. You can have one cooling down the injury, restricting everything, and then you change it out, put the hot one on, gets everything pumping away again. This works really well for pumping away fluids from the area with the constricting, heating up, constricting, heating up. It's a very useful tool. I'll be honest with you, with my injuries, I haven't really felt much benefits with the cold, although the science says it's very good. In my own personal experience, I prefer heat on all my injuries. And then this is just another, it's like a beanbag, but this can be heated up. And I've used it a number of times where I've had a slight neck tweak. If I've been sitting at a desk too long or something, I put that on and I just go and lie back in the alternative position. So if I've been sitting like this all day, I put the heat pack on and I'll go and lie on my stomach on the ground and just like heating up with my neck back being straight. For many people who are sitting at a desk all day, this one here is so nice. But you need to be getting yourself in a position that's the opposite how you sit here all day. It's also very good to note, if you are going to be sitting at a desk all day, try and get the proper seat. Try and get a proper height desk, try and use a proper mouse pad, use a keyboard that is good for you with the support if necessary, which I don't have here, and make sure your screen is the correct height, which mine is not. That should be a little bit higher. You can go online and there is websites now that help you set all these things up, and it does help as well if you sit with your core braced as much as you can. Also very good for building your core, but it keeps you nice, straight posture, and it is much better for you long term if you can practice doing that. You would look better for it too. Yeah, just some basic things there, and all things you can do at home. This is not instead of proper medical or physiotherapy. They may also be required. This is just to give you things you can try at home without running off to a doctor every time you have a minor injury. In conclusion, the Peace and Love Protocol represents a holistic and patient-centered approach to soft tissue injury management by prioritising natural healing processes, empowering patients, and integrating evidence-based practices. We can pave the way for improved outcomes and enhanced patient well-being. This is from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. The link is here. You can look it up. It's a good read, but that is the bulk of the journal entry, and it was from Du Bois and Escular. They'd done it in 2020. Great advice. So I hope that's been helpful for you. If you are struggling with implementing any of these things, feel free to book a call below. We can go through what is causing you problems and we can help you implement solutions to fix them. The call is free. There's no obligation to sign up or buy anything on the call. Good luck if you do have any recovery issues, and I hope you get back to full fitness as quick as possible. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.